Hello students, I welcome you all to another video lecture on the subject Computer Concepts and C Programming. In the previous session, we learnt about operators and various types of operators that are supported by C programming language. In this session, we are going to learn about operator precedence and associativity, input-output operations, as well as how to generate formatted output. Let's begin with the operator precedence and associativity. So students, before we understand the concepts of precedence and associativity, we need to know what exactly an expression is all about. An expression is a meaningfully written statement which contains operators and operands. So contains operators and operands. An example for this is x is equal to a plus b. Let's take one example. X is equal to 5 plus 6 divided by 3 minus 2. If I ask you what is the value of x after computing this expression, to make it simple, I'll put a bracket over here. So your fundamental knowledge on mathematics tells you that first evaluate the bracket. So what is that fundamental knowledge of mathematics? The fundamental knowledge of mathematics is BODMAS rule. What is BODMAS? First evaluate the brackets, then order, that is x square of x, like that, then division, then multiplication, then addition, and then subtraction. So this is the rule we use to evaluate an expression. Let's apply the BODMAS rule and solve this expression. So first we have to evaluate this. So what is the answer for this? 3 ones are, 3 twos are 6, that is 2 is the answer. We write down as it is. Next we need to solve the addition, because addition comes first before subtraction. So 5 plus 2 is 7. 7 minus 2 is nothing but 5 is the answer. Okay. Now for the same, x is equal to 5 plus 6 divided by 3 minus 2. What I will do is, now I will put bracket over here. Again we will apply the BODMAS rule and solve this. 3 minus 2 is nothing but 1. 6 right as it is, 5, and then first what we need to do? Next we need to solve this, because division comes first before the addition. So 6 divided by 1 is obviously the same number 6. We have 5 plus 6 is 11. Now when you see this result, just if I interchange the bracket, you are getting different result. Suppose you don't have the bracket. For the same expression, x is equal to 5 plus 6 divided by 3 minus 2. Suppose we don't have the bracket. How will you evaluate this expression? Again we have to follow the fundamentals. So first division, next among these two, which is what highest, which comes first? Additions come first. 7 and then 5. So now students, what you learned, suppose we have brackets, we know that which operation has to be evaluated first, and if we don't have brackets, then we need to apply the BODMAS rule and evaluate it as per the rules. We know how to do this. Now we have to tell the compiler, or the compiler has to do it on its own without using the BODMAS rule. For that we have in C programming language the operator precedence and associativity. So what is this operator precedence or priority? Operator precedence or priority tells that which operator has to be operated first, which means that which has got highest priority, next highest priority, so on and so forth. And we have the concept of associativity. Associativity of the operator tells in which direction the expression has to be evaluated. Whether we have to evaluate it from left to right or whether we have to evaluate from right to left. So what does this mean? It means that whenever there is a tie of priority, then we have to use the concepts of associativity. Keep this in mind. Whenever we have tie of priority between operators, we apply the concepts of associativity to break the tie and evaluate the expression. These two are important for the compiler to evaluate the expression. I will just write down the meaning of operator precedence and associativity. Precedence, also called as priority. Okay, so it tells that priority of operators, whereas associativity is used, or it tells the direction of evaluation. The direction is either from right to left or left to right, and our expression in C will be evaluated based on these two rules. Okay. So students, now will try to understand which are the operators having highest priority and what are their associativity. The rule of thumb says that most of the unary operator will have highest priority as well as its order of associativity is from right to left. From right to left for unary operators. Whereas for binary operators, the order of associativity is left to right. So this is the rule of thumb. I will have the images of all the operators on this side to make you understand, because I don't want to write all those things and waste time. So it is very easy. Obviously it is based on the Wadmas rule, so you can easily follow the priorities of different operators. Now what we'll see is input-output operations. In the first unit, we discussed about the fundamentals of computers, wherein we came to know about the computer definition, which means that it is an electronic device used for computation. Computer accepts input, processes it with the help of predefined instruction and produces the output. So input output are primary functions of the computer. So when we are working with C programming language, obviously to process something we need to write instruction. These instructions are written in programming languages. So to perform input-output operations in C program, there are three types of input-output operations that can be performed. One is console input-output. Next is disk I/O input-output, and then port input output. See students, you are using the standard keyboard and mouse as well as monitor for input output operations. That is called as console input output. So we use standard input output devices. So if we are using standard input output devices for performing input output operations, we call it as console input output, which means you are giving the input through the keyboard and mouse and getting the output in the monitor. Next, disk input output. Disk meaning the hard disk drive or some storage location. So if you are performing input output from a document or a file that is residing either in the hard disk or some storage, we call it as disk input output. So that is operations performed on files stored in storage devices. Most of the real-time applications are based upon this. Next, and also most of the real-time operations are based upon combination of these two. Next is the port input output. So what does port mean? Port means it is nothing but the input output interfaces to connect peripheral devices to the computer. So we have discussed about various types of ports in the previous online session. So in the online session I showed you how exactly the motherboard is all about and what exactly the components of motherboard, and I explained the different types of ports that are there in the motherboard. If we are performing input output operations through the port of a computer, we call it as port input output. Operations performed using ports of the computer. Take for example, you have connected your mobile through a data cable to your mobile. So if you are supplying the data from your mobile and it is been read using the C programming language through the data cable, we can take that example as port input output. So now students, you have been introduced with the three types of input output operations that can be performed using C programming language: console input output, disk input output, as well as port input output. In your syllabus, we will be concentrating on the first two, that is console as well as disk input output. Let's now understand some of the console input output built-in functions. First, we will try to understand the getChar and putChar function. The getChar and putChar function are used to accept a single character and display the single character. So, used to input as well as output single character. What is the syntax for this? Syntax for getChar is get char and the brackets. Since you are accepting a character from the keyboard, on the left hand side there should be one character variable. Okay. An example for this is, first we need to have a character variable. I'll call it as ch. Ch is equal to get char. So when you execute this statement, one character will be accepted from the default input device, that is the keyboard, and it will be saved to the or assigned to the variable, character variable ch, only single character. Similarly, we have the putchar, which is used to display one single character in the output device, that is monitor. The syntax is like this: putchar of character variable. Okay, remember, every statement of the C has to be terminated by a semicolon. So putchar is the name of the function, and character variable is the variable where you have stored one single variable. An example for this is putchar ch. Okay, now we'll use these two examples and then construct one simple program to accept a character and display a character. The name of the program is program to read and display a single character. We'll begin with the preprocessor directive #include stdio.h, then void main, then declare one character variable ch, accept the character, and then putchar, that is display the character which is input, and then close the flower bracket. Let me explain this simple program which contains hardly 3 steps. So very first is the comment. This comment will be ignored in the compilation process. Already I have discussed during the structure of C programming language. Next we have the preprocessor directive, which is used to link the library files. So here we are including the library file stdio.h. So what is this stdio.h? Standard input output header file. So this header file contains a list of functions or library functions which we will be using in this program. In this case we will be using getchar and putchar. Similarly, we will be using printf and scanf, which we will discuss shortly. Then we have the main function. So every C programming language should have at least one minimum main function. So in this case, you declare a variable ch, accept the variable using getchar function, and display the variable using putchar function. So this is what a simple read and displaying a single character using getchar and putchar. Now we'll see how to accept mixed kind of data, mixed in the sense integer, float, character, using printf as well as scanf input output functions. The printf and the scanf is used to accept mixed data types. Now we'll see the syntax. Used to accept and display mixed data. Scanf is used for accepting, whereas printf is used for displaying. We'll see the syntax of scanf. Scanf, open the bracket, double quotes, control string, close the double quotes, and a comma, and then arguments. What is this control string? The control string is called as the format specifier in the case of scanf. You have to use format specifiers inside the double quotes. What is this format specifier? This format specifier tells the type of the argument you are accepting. So there are different types of format specifier. %d is for integer. %f is for float. %c is for character. %s is for string. Likewise, we have many format specifier for different types of data types we have studied in the C programming language. So we'll take one example for this. Suppose I want to accept an integer value and a floating value. The example would look like this. Scanf, I want to accept two values. One is integer, for that I will use %d, and then I want to accept a floating value. I will write %f, and then close the double quotes, and arguments, two values, we have to use ampersand x ampersand y, where x is a variable of type integer and y is a variable of type float. You need to understand one thing. If depending on the number of arguments, that many format specifiers you need to have inside the control string. So this is the actual syntax and example. Now similarly, we will see what is the syntax for printf and its example. Printf also has got the same syntax. It contains control string and arguments. What is the difference? The difference here is the control string can contain format specifier, escape sequence, and some output string. The format specifier is same as I discussed earlier, that is %d, %f, etc. The escape sequence are character \constant /n/t. So /n is for new line, so to bring the output in the new line. /t is used for one tab space. Then we have the output string. It can be anything, for example, any string, hello, x is equal to, etc. Some string. Now we'll take one example for the same. I have written the same variables over here x and y as discussed in the scanf. Over here see this x is equal to y is equal to our example for string, that is output string, whereas percentage d and percentage f are the format specifier and slash t and slash n are escape sequences. And depending on the format specifier, the same number of arguments must be present. So if you execute this statement, the output will look like this. X is equal to some value whatever you have given as input, and some space will be left, one tab space, that is around 8 characters space will be left, or 8 pixel space will be left, and y is equal to 5.5, something like this. So the output will look something like this. Now using the same examples, we will construct one program for printf and scanf. So the name of the program is program to accept mixed data. So we use hash include and include the standard input output header file, void main, then declare the variable int x semicolon float y, then printf, enter the value of x, or you can say enter an integer, enter an integer value and slash n. Okay, then I'll continue from here. Scanf percentage d ampersand x. Similarly, printf, enter a float value. Scanf percentage f ampersand y. Now we can use this single scanf to accept both, but to make you understand in a simplest way, I have used multiple scanf statements. We'll display both the values in one printf. Printf x is equal to percentage d slash t and y is equal to percentage f slash n. So x and y. One more thing you need to remember, students, whenever you are using a scanf, the variable one more thing you need to remember, students, whenever you are using scanf, the variable should be preceded by ampersand symbol, whereas when you are using printf, no need to write the argument preceded by ampersand symbol. The reason being is scanf is used to accept the value, and that value will be stored in a named memory location. The ampersand specify the address of the named memory location. That is the reason. Okay. So now we completed the simple program to accept mixed data using printf and scanf. So students, in this session we completed precedence and associativity, as well as we completed the input output statements or operations that can be performed using C programming language. Formatted output we will discuss in the next video session. Thank you.